Most of the time, and by default, Illustrator shows you the document in preview mode, which is really the way the document will look when printed out. I tend to think of this as Illustrator's normal view. Now the file I have open is called SalonAd, and you'll find it in the Chapter 1 folder of the project files. And speaking of the file name, which I have up here in the tab, I know that I'm in preview mode because on the same tab over here it shows me the word preview. But there are other views that are helpful depending on what's going on. The first view that I want to show you is what's called outline view, or I tend to think of it as wireframe view. Now, the regular preview here is showing us the letters and any of the formatting. Colors, if there's outlines down over here, there's some shadow. But outline view strips away all that formatting, or over here in this little floral design, it strips away all that and shows you just the thin outlines that Illustrator is actually calculating. A couple of ways to get there. One way is keyboard shortcut, and this is one that I've used so often you really probably just want to memorize it, is Control-Y or Command-Y on the Mac. And when you press it, it brings you into, oh my goodness, what's going on? This horrible black and white thing. Press Control-Y or Command-Y and you go back. If you don't want to remember the keyboard shortcut though, you could always go up to the View menu, and the very first thing here in the View menu, and it shows you the shortcut, will bring you into Outline View. So you can still see like the thickness of these letters, but everything else is gone. That floral design you can see, all of that coloring and transparency and all that is gone. And you might wonder, okay, well, why would I want to use this? And the answer is sometimes you might be trying to select something, and it can be hard to select something because some of the formatting or whatnot is in the way. It's just easier to deal with here. I'll give you an example. Over here we have the name box for the Salon ad, and if you want to edit the text, if you want to select the text box, pretty simple. You can click it and then you can move it around, do whatever you want with it, resize it, and so on. I'm just going to undo, press Control-Z or Command-Z on the Mac. But now deselect it, just click somewhere on the background of the page, and let's go back into preview. By the way, since we're in outline, you can see up here in the tab shows we're in outline. So either press Control-Y or Command-Y, or go back to the View menu. And now here's that same text box, but when you click it, you notice it's not selected because this color box is on top of it. And this color fill just doesn't really have any effect, doesn't show up in the outline view. By the way, I will show you a trick though, is if you want to select something that's behind something else, if you hold down the, I'll put my mouse pointer over here where the letters are thicker, if you hold down the Control key or the Command key on the Mac and click, you may need to click a couple of times and then you can select it. But that's really neither here nor there. Let's just click on the background here to deselect. I find also if I want to drag one object in an exact spot or close to the other, I will go up to Outline View. But let's take a look at some of these other views here. You see we have this Overprint Preview, which right now isn't turned on. Overprint Preview is helpful if you need to see the end result of special features. For example, if some objects have transparency applied, Overprint Preview will show you how the transparency will look when printed. Let's leave the Overprint Preview off for a moment. And you see we have some transparency. We have this kind of reddish-orangish flower on top of the floral design. We have some others going on there. And take a look how it is now. When you go up to the View menu and turn on Overprint Preview, you see it changes a little bit. It's a little darker there. So this is just a little bit more realistic. Now you could work in Overprint Preview. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Illustrator will work just fine. Sometimes some things may work a little slower, and depends on how fast your computer is, so you may or may not want to work in Overprint Preview. And two ways to know that it's turned on is in the tab over here. It says Overprint Preview, and if you go up to the View menu, you can see Overprint Preview is turned on. By the way, you notice that there is no option here on the View menu to get back to regular preview. It's simply Overprint Preview is turned on or it's not turned on. So let me just click that and go to the View menu, and you see it's not turned on anymore. The third view I want to show you is Pixel Preview. Now, Pixel Preview, you'd use that if you're preparing artwork for display in an electronic medium like a web page or PowerPoint presentation. And the reason that's there is keep in mind that even the fanciest, most expensive computer screen is a much lower resolution device than even a cheap, flimsy printer. So artwork that might look very nice and very smooth on a cheap printer could still look fuzzy and pixelated on a screen. So before we turn that on, let's just take a look here, take a look at the text here, some of the design there, and it's all very nice and smooth. But when we go to the View menu and we go to Pixel Preview, and maybe zoom in if you need to. I showed you a few methods of zooming in earlier. Now you can see that this is a little fuzzier, a little more pixelated going on here. And the design here as well. Maybe now I'll go out of Pixel Preview, and so now you can see how much smoother that is as opposed to how rough it'll be if you convert it to pixels. So that's Illustrator's way of telling you that you might need to adjust some of your artwork if you're going to export it for use on the web or electronic presentations. And if you decide that you want to work in Pixel Preview as your regular mode, go right ahead. Illustrator will work just fine that way.